This is the most complete mid-size group base that I've ever designed. The Revenant is my main base for 4 to 8 players. It is a cost-effective build with anti-siege protection, a shield wall, and 360-degree turret coverage. At the heart of the base is a 42-box open core, efficient and highly defendable from the god floor above. Outside of the base sits a shield wall, allowing you to ping wall from the safety of your compound. Reverse waterfalls move the team from the compound to the shooting floor in seconds. And 12 turrets that deliver full 360-degree coverage with no dead angles. The Revenant also runs inter-TC technology. This is the mid-sized group approach to anti-siege protection. Together, all of these systems make it an absolute nightmare for anyone raiding this base. If you want a base that is built to last the entire wipe, the Revenant is right for you. On screen here is the total cost to build the Revenant from start to finish. Starting out this walkthrough, I want to shout out Time for helping me design the base, and the Building Bulletin guys for all the feedback and design help. I'll have Time's channel linked down in the description below. Go check them out and show them some love. The Revenant features only 2 externals, each of which will cost around 16k worth of materials to upkeep. Since this base features inter-TC, the disconnect for these externals are found within the bedroom modules. Moving on into the gatehouse, we're met with 2 Patricos that give you nasty angles to both sides of the compound. The compound itself is protected by 4 turrets, nasty angles to defend from, and the ability to ping wall from the safety of the compound. The ping wall itself can be placed around the entirety of the shield wall, giving the Revenant the ability to soak up a massive amount of rockets. Moving through this section of the shield wall gives us access to the large furnaces. And lastly, on both sides of the compound, we have a large bedroom module. On both sides of the module, we do have more nasty peeks into the compound. Just behind us here, we do have our large battery and our inter-TC disconnect. To connect the wide gaps back to main base, you would use this socket here. Now moving on into main base, we're met with a few drop boxes. The entrance into the core is on the 2nd floor. This floor does have 2 loot rooms and 2 drop downs into the starter of the base. Before dropping down into the starter, we do have a few nasty angles, one that covers the jump up and the entryway into the 2nd floor. Inside of the starter, we do have 2 loot rooms and an early game battery. Moving through the other half of our starter, we are met with our TC. Main TC will cost around 55k worth of materials. Now moving out of the starter, we will now head up to 3rd floor. 3rd floor is our bedroom floor. These bedrooms are very similar to the ones found out in the compound. Only these give you peaks that hold the outer mobility. If you are being raided, you could seal off this section of the base here, preventing raiders from getting access to the entire base. One side of the bedrooms does have an extra peak that holds the floor. Moving on up to my favorite part of the base, we are now in the open core. This open core feels very cozy and unique. We do have 2 large loot rooms and 2 vault style loot rooms. Just above our vault, we've got batteries. We've got our turrets that cover the open core, and we've got extra barrels and boxes. Just above, we've got a floor that's designated to defend the open core. This floor has plenty of beds and lockers to get you re-kitted and back into the fight quick. We also have Patricos that watch the outer mobility. This floor is only accessible through the open core, and that's why this is one of the most safest floors to respawn during a raid. Moving back down through our open core, we are making our way back to our mobility chutes. This floor right here is where outer mobility and inner mobility meet, taking you up to the shooting floor. This chute here is our outer mobility, and this takes you all the way to the entrance of the base. Since you guys have already seen this area of the base, I'm going to take you back up and show off the shooting floor. The shooting floor can be defended from this jump up here, as we have got some absolutely nasty one-way peaks. No raider would be able to take you out from that peak. At the core of the shooting floor, we've got Patricos that watch the entryways, and we've got more beds for respawns. We also have more one-ways that watch the roof. Moving back down into the shooting floor, we will go through these single doors. Taking a step out, we're instantly met with protected wide gap peaks and protected window peaks. Both provide absolutely insane angles into the compound below. With this shooting floor, there really are no dead spots in the compound that raiders can hide. On the other side of our shooting floor, we've got our standard protected window peaks and scissor peaks. Moving on up to our roof. Here's another look at those one-way peaks. At the center of the roof, we've got an extra area for respawns and drop boxes. And a raised section for extra peaks. Moving on out to the actual roof, we have those same wide gap sections. We also have additional ramp peaks. The roof is protected by a total of 4 turrets. One set are normal and the other set are protected by chain link. The last section of the roof is our bedroom modules. This module not only provides respawns, but it provides a quick and easy way to get from the compound to the roof in seconds. Moving on down, we've got a Patrico peak that overlooks the shooting floor. And we've also got an entryway into the shooting floor. If you continue to move down, you've got a nasty one-way peek into the shooting floor. And lastly, our drop down into the compound. Since this is a reverse waterfall module, you can move from the compound to the shooting floor in seconds. And that wraps up the walkthrough for the Revenant. And now let's get right into the build tutorial. The Revenant starter is designed to be built with as little resources as possible. Let's start by enclosing our starter with walls, adding an airlock and double door frames, and then finally sealing it off with a roof. When placing the single doors, make sure that the inside door swings outwards to ensure the airlock is functional. TC will go in the back right corner, and then fill the rest in with boxes or barrels, whichever your group prefers. On the backside wall here will be the workbench with a small box placed underneath it. And to the left side, we could add a few furnaces. And then spam as many sleeping bags as we can into the starter. This is what the starter looks like up until this point. Now, if you're running a full 8-man, we're going to need to expand this very quickly. Moving out of the starter, we will begin with placing triangle foundations, square foundations off every socket, and then fill the rest in with triangle foundations. Once that is complete, we will seal in our entire starter with walls. The single doors will be placed on either side of the starter, and then we will create our loot rooms. Right here is an excellent spot to put an early game battery. Now let's work on the loot rooms. The ones I am building are very basic, so if you have a better, more efficient way to fill these loot rooms out, I would encourage you to use them and make this base perfect for your group. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video and sticking with me even after my long extended break away from YouTube. I am back now and plan to upload as many high quality tutorials as I can for you guys, so drop in the comments what you'd like to see me build next. Now we can go ahead and add our double door frames within the starter and begin working on our jump ups. Underneath the jump ups are excellent spots for shotgun traps. And the rest of this area can be used for utility equipment. It's whatever your group needs at that point in fight. Now let's go ahead and finish off our starter by sealing off our roof and adding an airlock to both jump ups. When placing the double door, make sure that it swings outwards to then create the airlock. If you don't have the blueprint for glass, you could replace it with window bars, as this will turn into a peak during the next phase of the build. The second window here will be utilized as a peak into the second floor entryway. This is what the base should look like up until this point. The temporary jump ups will be on these square sockets. The foundation can be built in stone, however, the ramp should be twig. For the rest of the build, I will be using two-sided symmetry, so for each section that you see me build once, you will have to repeat it for the other side of the base. Moving into our airlock on the second floor, we will add a few deployables to finalize this section of the build. Don't forget to add your shotgun trap here, as this covers the entryway into the second floor. Single door will be placed here, and let's seal the rest in with walls. Fill the rest of the second floor in with double door frames. Our jump up will be in this triangle socket with the loot room just behind it. At the center, we could add sleeping bags. Extra storage can be placed underneath the jump up. And garage doors can be placed in every single double door frame except for the jump up. Now we can go ahead and add our roof to the second floor. For right now, we will just add a double door to prevent anyone from going deep, and then add our single door to seal off the starter. Let's remove the twig on our temporary jump up and replace it as honeycomb. Now let's expand our base to create our actual jump up. When building this peak, please make sure to use a triangle frame instead of a floor. That way the roof can be placed correctly. Once the roof is placed, we can go ahead and work on our outermost jump ups. Once the roof is sealed off, we can make our way back into the base and add a double door. Make sure the double door swings outward so that peak can still be used. Now, once this is finished, you can remove the window and add a triangle floor grate. And now we will add our drop boxes. Garage doors can be added to all of the double door sockets, and we can place our single door. This is what the base should look like up until this point. Now let's add our honeycomb. Before adding the honeycomb, I did armor the walls and foundations to core. However, since these are accessible, you could upgrade these at any point in the build. Once we finish placing the roofs on our honeycomb, we are now ready for the externals and shield wall. Now let's begin working on the externals. Let's build out so we can get our triangle socket. Then we will build 2 squares and cap it off with a triangle foundation, and then we'll have them back. We will now remove our build out. This section of the footprint will house our bedrooms, an extra battery, and our inter-TC disconnect. Once you are finished, the foundation should look like this. Now let's connect these 2 sections so nothing decays. Don't forget to add this double door frame. The half wall here needs to be either twig or wood, as this is what disconnects the external. And adding the frames here will connect it to the external TC. To disconnect the external, all you would have to do is go in here and remove this wooden half wall, and it's no longer connected. Now that's connected, let's finish the rest of the external footprint. I'm curious to know more about you guys, so drop in the comments below if you play Rust on console or PC. Once you are finished placing the foundations, this is what it should look like up until this point. Let's begin working on our gatehouses first. The double door here should swing outwards, creating an airlock. Here on top of the gatehouse is an excellent spot for a turret. Inside the gatehouse, we could add a few small boxes. Then we could add our horizontal window embrasures. And lastly, we will add our sleeping bags. The gatehouse module is designed to be very simple and easy to build. And now let's begin working on our bedroom module. Adding a few barrels here will allow your team to store more respawn kits within the bedrooms. These lockers can be tricky to place, however, give it some time and you'll eventually get it. Once you do get it, don't forget to add your window embrasures. And here is an excellent spot for a battery. Now that is the bedroom module finished. This is what the shield wall should look like up until this point. Now let's begin working on the last sections of the shield wall. This section that we're working on will be access to the large furnaces within your compound. I like adding this small box here because it makes moving through the window much easier. This section right here will just be utilized as honeycomb. Moving over to our last section of the shield wall, this is another access point to the large furnaces. Again, I would place a small box here in the corner to make mobility through the window much easier. Once the stairs are placed, we can go back down and add our triangle roof. Now before we go ahead and work on placing the large furnaces and our compound walls, let's go ahead and add our frames for the shooting floor. Just to the left of the window here, we will add a metal half wall. This is what the base should look like up until this point. Right outside the bedrooms, this is also a good spot for a turret. I would recommend practicing when placing these large furnaces and your compound walls, as this part can be quite difficult. With one side complete, let's move on over to the other side. As you guys can see, these furnaces can be quite painful to place. But eventually you'll find that sweet spot and you'll be able to place the last furnace. Now this isn't perfect placement, but again, this is just for your furnaces. It's not the end of the world. This is what the base should look like up until this point, and now let's add our barricades. Before we move on to the next phase of the build, let's move on over to the metal half wall that we built earlier. We're going to make our way to our core jump up and add a triangle frame behind it. Then we will add another triangle frame attached to it. A triangle roof will be placed off the frame. This is the inter-TC socket that connects the wide gap portion of the base back to the main build. If raiders take your external, you could disconnect by destroying the half wall, replacing it, and adding the triangle socket here. This will connect the wide gap portion back to main base. With the shield wall and compound finished, we can now work on the rest of the build. Let's begin working on the third floor. On both jump ups, we will remove the double door and replace it with a garage door. Now we can start by adding all of our honeycomb. Lastly, we will seal in our jump up. Here we are creating a peak that holds out our mobility from our third floor bedrooms. These bedrooms are pretty much identical to the ones that we created in the shield wall. Here we will extend our jump up. I add a computer station here. However, if your group is struggling for loot storage, you could add a few more barrels. For this part, I will turn off symmetry and we will select a window and create a peak. We could add double door frames to all sockets except for this middle one here. And now turning symmetry back on, we could add a roof to the entire floor. This is what the third floor should look like up until this point. Now let's begin working on the open core. Let's go ahead and move on over to our inside jump up. We will now add walls that are 2 stories high, and we'll seal off the entirety of the floor. This makes working on the open core much easier and safer to do. Instead of using full walls here, we will opt in for half walls. These will serve as breakaway peaks in the event the base gets pummeled. Open core is now starting to take shape, so let's go ahead and start working on the loot rooms. On the left side, this loot room will be our vault, and on the right side, it will be our bigger 8-box loot room. Before sealing off your vault, I would recommend to place the boxes before. This section will be utilized for a battery. With that section finished, we can now move on to our other loot room. If you made it this far into the video, I'm assuming that you're a Rust veteran. In the comments below, let me know how many hours do you have in Rust. With the loot rooms finished, we could head on up and start working on the respawn floor above. With this ramp peak, you could choose to use a low wall or completely leave it open. It's whatever your group prefers. These windows here will serve as one-way peeks into the floor above as well as your shooting floor. This peak here will allow us to hold the angle where outer jump ups meet up with the inner jump ups. With this being a respawn floor, we will place lockers behind this single door. This room can be finalized by placing a window here and adding as many beds and bags as possible. Moving back down into our open core, we could place our 2 turrets here on the stairs. And we could add a few more beds and bags down here in open core. We could add our tier 3 workbench here. This is what the base should look like up until this point. Before we start working on the shooting floor, we will need to extend our outer jump ups up to the floor that we're currently on. I would highly recommend to utilize the space within these jump ups to whatever your group needs. Garage doors can be added to all of these double door frames. Once you have finally sealed up the roof, we are now ready to begin working on the shooting floor. Finally, we could start working on the shooting floor and the roof. With the jump up sealed up, let's now begin working on the respawn room for the shooting floor. These windows here will serve as one-way peeks into the shooting floor. And lastly, we will create a Patrico peak that watches the entrance. A locker can be placed against this back wall, and now we could place our beds. This section here will be our jump up to the roof. Before sealing the jump up, don't forget to place your boxes or barrels. As stated before, these peaks right here will function as our one-ways, so let's go ahead and add our embrasures. If you're having issues placing these just like I am, just keep trying different angles until you find the right spot. If you've made it this far into the tutorial, drop in the comments below what your favorite feature is about this base. With the last of the deployables placed, we can now spam our garage doors. Now the fun part begins. Let's go ahead and start adding all of our peaks. To get this frame placed, we will just use the socket beneath it. Be sure to use a triangle frame when sealing up the window, just like so. These roofs can be quite tricky to place, so just back up against the wall and you should be able to place them. When building the shooting floor, don't forget to utilize these triangle frames beneath the windows, as this will prevent anyone from holding your shooting floor using twig buildup. With this section complete, we can now add our doors and our embrasures. Now let's begin working on the wide gap peaks. Moving on down to the shield wall, we will begin adding our frames. Once the windows are placed, we will now protect these using half walls. Working on this window, we will need to extend the shooting floor up just here on the right side. Adding this half wall here will give us the socket that we need to protect these windows. With the windows now protected, we could add our floor and our deployables. If you can't tell, I struggle when it comes to placing deployables. If you share this struggle with me, drop it down in the comments below. Adding a ramp here will give you a nasty peek on this right side window. With one side of the shooting floor complete, we will now mirror this on the other side with a few small differences. When building these windows, do not forget the anti-twig protection just beneath the windows. I did forget to add them on the first side, so let's go ahead and add them now. One of the differences on this side is we will add a half wall here and then add our frames. Another difference here is that we will add low walls instead of half walls to protect these windows. This is what the shooting floor should look like up until this point. With both sides complete, we can now work on our reverse waterfall modules. Adding netting to these frames will make getting from the compound to the shooting floor very quick and efficient. These windows here will act as a one-way into the shooting floor. This armored ladder hatch will function as an airlock to the bedrooms just above. We will place a floor frame here and then fill it in with a floor grate. Moving back into our module, we will now add our deployables. And now we could add our protection to the outside. With that module finished, we can now work on our roof bedrooms. A square will be placed off the armored ladder hatch. This will be where we place our beds. This section here will be a Patrico peak that overlooks the roof. This section here is good for another box or barrel. A locker can be placed against the back wall, and we could add 2 beds. With the beds placed, we can now work on the rest of the deployables. Use a double door here because we will make an airlock, just like so. For extra storage, we will place a barrel or box here. When working on this section of the roof, I would recommend to place the barricades before you add any double door frames. To protect this window, we will use low walls. Glass can go in this front window and an embrasure to the right. Now making our way over to the left side of the bedroom module, we will add our protected windows here. To make this section of the roof look more symmetrical, we will add a half wall followed by 2 low walls. To finalize this section of the roof, we will add 2 stone roofs over the floor grate here. And 1 set of turrets will be placed right here in front of the bedroom module. This is what the base should look like up until this point. And now we could add more barricades. With most of the roof done, we will now begin working on the final 2 sides. When placing these double doors, make sure they swing outwards. This allows for better protection over the wide gap portions of the base. Chain link will be added to the top 2 double door frames. These will be used to protect our second set of turrets. With the outside section of the roof completed, we will now begin working on the inside. This section of the base will just have some drop boxes and some respawn kits. Before placing this last window, let's go ahead and add our vending machine. With all of the structure of this base completed, we will now just add our SAM sites and wind turbines. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me through the end of this tutorial. Please be sure to tag me in any clips or videos that you guys get using this base. As always, I will see you guys in the next tutorial.